Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Back on. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and participants, a very warm welcome to the inaugural session of the online conference Voicing TESOL Oman. Today we're here to embark on a transformative journey, one that will shape the future of English language teaching in the Sultanate of Oman. Before we go further, I would like to invite my colleague, Professor Anwar Mourssi, to recite some verses from the Holy Quran.
Thank you. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سبح اسم ربك الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء أحوى سنقرئك فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله إنه يعلم الجهر وما يخفى ونيسرك لليسرى فذكر إن نفعت الذكرى سيذكر من يخشى ويتجنبها الأشقى الذي يصلى النار الكبرى ثم لا يموت فيها ولا يحيا قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى صدق الله العظيم.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, voicing TESOL Oman. TESOL Oman, in affiliation with TESOL International, stands as a testament to the dedication and vision of its co-founder, Manahal Al-Khawair, inspired by a passion for education and driven by the desire to empower English language teachers. Manahal Al-Khawair, alongside esteemed scholars Professor Ali Al-Issa, Professor Anwar Mourssi, has brought forth this remarkable platform to foster professional growth and elevate the standards of TESOL in Oman. TESOL Oman represents a groundbreaking initiative that unifies English language teachers and student teachers under a single professional umbrella. This conference serves as a platform for educators to exchange valuable experiences, share best practices, and ignite fruitful discussions on research ideas. We invite you to join us in making a difference in the field of TESOL education. To become a member, kindly register through the website link shared in the chat. Together, let us shape the future of English language teaching in Oman and create a lasting impact on the educational landscape. The theme of this conference resonates powerfully in the title of our keynote address, Voicing TESOL Oman. And today we delve into the historical roots and aspirations that underpin the very existence of TESOL Oman. Furthermore, we explore the significance of TESOL Oman within the wider landscape of TESOLs around the globe. Our keynote speaker, Professor Ali Al-Issa, will shed light on the TESOL mission and official position of ELT issues, and we aim to unlock new avenues of growth and progression. This discussion will ignite a dialogue on how English language teachers in Oman can pioneer the professionalization of TESOL within the Sultanate. And we're thrilled to bring you esteemed speakers from Oman who will be joining us from now until 12 o'clock. These renowned speakers are thought leaders, and they bring a wealth of knowledge, insights, and experience to our conference. So stay tuned for their captivating presentations and be prepared to be enlightened by their remarkable contributions to the field. Now let us come together to celebrate the advancement of TESOL Oman and explore the untapped potential that lies before us, and let's make a lasting impact on the lives of students and educators across the nation. Once again, welcome to each and every one of you. may this inaugural session of Voicing TESOL Oman be the catalyst for a remarkable conference on laying the foundation for a bright future in TESOL education. Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, I'd like to welcome our first speaker. Professor Ali Al Issa requires no introduction. Anyone that is involved in education will have definitely heard of Professor Ali Al Issa. He is currently a full professor of critical applied linguistics at the Department of Curriculum and Instruction, College of Education at Sultan Qaboos University. He holds an MA in Education TESOL from the University of London and a PhD in Education Applied Linguistics from the University of Queensland, Australia. Professor Al Issa has extensive experience in teaching English at different levels and for different purposes, including 18 years at the Foundation Program English Language and Training Teachers in general and English Language Teacher in specific. Additionally, he supervised numerous master's and PhD theses. Professor Ali Al Issa has published over 40 articles and 5 book chapters and books, has published in Asian EFL Australian Journal of Teacher Education, Changing English, Critical Inquiry in Language Studies, Language, Culture and Curriculum, Current Issues in Language Planning, RELC, Teaching Education, TESOL Journal, the International Journal of Learning, the Qualitative Research, and more. He has been the best cited Omani ELT scholar since 2005. Professor Al Issa has delivered over 40 professional workshops and more than 100 international and national conference and symposium presentations, out of which he was a keynote or featured speaker in almost 50 of them. Professor Ali Al Issa is also a recipient of several national and international awards and recognitions from national and international institutions for his research and teaching. Professor Ali Al Issa has served on over 15 national and international postgraduate dissertation committees and 60 department college and university committees. Professor Al Issa has recently finished and launched a teaching philosophy and teaching and learning strategies for Sultan Qaboos University. He is currently leading a teaching quality team to transform teaching quality at Sultan Qaboos University and is the co-founder and president of TESOL Oman, which is officially affiliated to TESOL International Association in the USA since 1st of March 2023. The title of his keynote address is inspired by the conference theme, and I would like to welcome and hand over to Professor Ali. Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Radwana, for the introduction. Probably I need to share. All right then. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Good morning, everyone. And I don't know if we have any people from a different time zone, then we probably need to say also good evening. I'm not aware of how many people have joined today and from which areas exactly, which parts of the world. So this is it, basically. Voicing TESOL Oman, advancing the profession. As you can see, nothing so philosophical about the title, probably inspired 100% by the theme of the conference for this time, for this year. Next time there will be something different, inshallah. This is how it should be every time. So what do you have today then together? Now, a little bit of history about us. In fact, we started as a small community. That was back in April 2020. You can see it's been around 3 years. The idea was there long ago. Prof. Mourssi, Anwar Mourssi, and myself. But to develop it, I think there's a lot of noise in the background. Yeah, some of the mics are unmuted.
Sorry,
so,
we'd appreciate if everyone could just keep their mics on mute. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. Well, there were multiple challenges really that we faced during that time, on the top of which comes, obviously, you're all aware when you look at this time of this era, COVID-19. We had so many issues with that. Again, we had so many people who didn't think really that we would make it. And I would call them doubters. And they kept saying that, well, it's not an easy project to start. We don't see that taking off. But then those were just doubters. We didn't care really. We kept persevering. We kept working hard to be able to reach to our aim. But then what was the aim? Has always been continuing professional development of teachers. As Radwana said in the introduction today, we really worked very, very hard day and night to get this in place, to get it in shape, because this is what we care about. It's all about teachers. Teachers have struggled in Oman worldwide to affirm their place, to prove that they are dedicated professionals, committed, loyal, intellectuals. Nobody believes much about these attributes being in teachers, but then we believed so much in that. And we thought that, well, it's high time we've shown it to the world. Okay, it is TESOL Oman, but then the voice with this online work is traveling everywhere. And this is what makes it really easy for everyone today to be able to get this message, inshallah. Now, today, interestingly enough, there are more than 100 TESOL associations worldwide. Approximately 12 million English teachers active in the world today. Scary numbers, eh? But you should feel really excited that you've got so many colleagues. Noise in the background. Okay. So we are really, really proud to be contributing to advancing professionalism in Oman. You notice that this shows in the logo. This is the whole thing. This is what TESOL Oman is about, advancing the profession. We would like to play this important role, key role also in advancing professionalism of English language teachers in Oman, be part of this huge, massive, and continuously growing and expanding organization. But then where do we stand in relationship to professionalizing TESOL in Oman? If you look at the point before it, 11 TESOL associations, around 12 million English teachers active already in the world, working, enjoying themselves, hopefully. But where do we stand in relationship to all this? Let's see. If you look at the mission of TESOL International Association, look at that. Probably I'll keep quiet for a minute. I'll let you read it yourselves. I'm assuming you're quick readers, yes? Yeah, well, I mean, amazing, isn't it? When you look at that and you look at the vocabulary there used, the terminology, my goodness. A lot of it can be really contentious when you talk about advocacy standards, multilingualism, different paradigms, different perspectives, different interpretations. Fascinating, isn't it? But then we will come to this. We will try to localize and contextualize whatever appears here. What do we have next? The official position on English language teaching issues by TESOL International. Again, I'll keep quiet for a minute or so. Again, fascinating here, especially when you look at terms like public policy, strategic plan, official positions on a broad range of issues related to the field of English language teaching. Now, the positions are related to adult education, higher education, social issues and diversity, teacher education, US education policies and legislation, and young learners. Hopefully, if we don't cover everything today, each one of these, then down the road, we will definitely target them all and see how we can cover them, given the Omani local identity we will be also trying to target at the same time. So what do we have then on the next slide? Now, let's do some kind of discourse analysis to that. Probably take it a bit further, a level further, and talk about critical discourse analysis. So, key statements, keywords in those statements are professional expertise, multilingual contexts, professional learning, research, standards, advocacy, public policy, and strategic plan. Incredible. Actually, when you look at them, you will see that these are the patches in that huge quilt. They all fall under one umbrella, in fact, the umbrella of professionalism, of English language teachers, of English language teaching in general, TESOL. Now, they guide, actually, these keywords guide professionalism and TESOL positions. But then we need to explore more. I mean, this is not enough, definitely. So what do we have here? We need to contextualize those. We need to localize them. We need to highlight the Omani ELT identity, the Omani TESOL identity. This is what the world is doing today. Identity is becoming contentious more and more, being attacked by different scholars, by different researchers. It needs to be protected. It needs to be highlighted better and better. We need to show that, yes, while we share so much with the rest of the world, we still need to maintain what we have and also present it to the world in a different mold. So here we go. Identity and agency as well, another very, very important terminology that is also contentious in critical applied linguistics and needs to be defined and identified really well. Now, let's go further. Let's analyze further. When we look at Oman as a multilingual country, multi-ethnic, multicultural, and multilingual is actually a very special characteristic of Oman. If you look at the neighboring countries, you won't find this very clearly, not as clearly as it is the case in Oman, yeah? With English and ELT serving social, political, and economic purposes. Fascinating, isn't it? Multilingual, yet English plays an amazing role here, a strategic role in the development of Oman. But then, however, unfortunately, our research, and I'm saying this because I've researched this and I mean it, has actually aimfully continued to address the micro pictures. Researchers in Oman continue to look at the small picture and avoid and overlook and ignore addressing the macro picture, which appears at the top, the first point on this slide, actually. This is something that we really need to look at very carefully. We need to examine very carefully. It's not enough that we talk about it in the passing, no. It definitely needs to be analyzed critically. And we see the implications for the development here, socially, politically, and economically speaking. Now, this deliberate avoidance of critiquing ELT policies and plans in Oman has affected the quality of teaching education. Being a teacher educator now for over quarter of a century. I can tell this so easily. I can build it on my research, actually. It has also affected the teaching of so many teachers. They cannot see Oman with all that diversity, a landscape with incredible diversity. They are still looking at things from the perspective of one size fits all, which is a fallacy, which cannot be accepted, really. Not with the paradigm shift the discipline has witnessed over 3 decades ago. It has affected the learning of our learners, even the learning of our teachers. It has affected our curriculum-related issues, how we design the curriculum, how we write it, how we present it to everyone, even to the world, with things going online, how it is implemented, how it is researched. And this, unfortunately, has led the country into an economic turmoil. Yes, we have issues with our economy resulting from not being able to problematize ELT in Oman, unfortunately, by looking at the small pictures rather than the big picture, rather than putting these jigsaw pieces together. Now, to add insult to injury, unfortunately, we started importing those standards from the West. But not only that, we failed, completely failed, unfortunately. And I belong to the biggest and the most renowned institution. Which is SQ. And I can tell you, SQ is struggling, has been struggling since 2007 to contextualize, localize those standards imported mainly from the USA and be able really to make them suitable for our needs, interests, and purposes. This added actually to the economic burden of the country because importing this stuff has cost us a fortune today. And we haven't been really able to tame this, unfortunately. So, and we continue depending culturally on the States, on the UK. And this is not serving. This is not helping anyone. Now, today, more than ever, you can imagine, members of TESOL Oman are required actually, and this is an invitation to everyone, not only to the members, even to those who haven't joined us as officially as members, but they are following us today. They are listening to everyone's talk. They are required actually to carry the torch of ELT reform in Oman. Oman, guys, deserve the best. Oman needs the best. Oman has got so many problems. ELT in Oman is suffering, has been suffering since 1970. You can imagine. Don't believe those who have told you that it is improving. No, it's not. And it needs really major reform. Now, being part of TESOL Oman is a professional commitment, ladies and gentlemen. Don't think that we are there just because we want to attend, we want to listen to people, we want to publish. Not really. Maybe these are important priorities, but then they've got to be also integrated within professional commitment and passion to advance this profession together. Yes. So we are expected to show and model to the coming generations of teacher trainers, teachers, as well as curriculum designers, that professionalism is something quite complex, quite complicated, quite multifaceted, not an easy thing to deal with multiple paradigms, but then with a lot of criticality that needs to be shown to the world as well. As I said earlier, and I will emphasize, reiterate now, the critical turn, ladies and gentlemen, towards the end of the last century. And now we are living a new century. This needs to be highlighted. This needs to be kept in mind. We cannot bury our heads in the sand, be very much like ostriches, and claim that everything is going very well. As we say in Oman, Omanis will relate to this. Al-umur tayba. No, al-umur are not tayba. Things are not well. Things are not moving well. And we need to be honest about this. Yeah. So it is high time we took calculated steps, ladies and gentlemen, not any steps, calculated steps, and made informed decisions. Again, not any decisions, decisions that are based on critical research, on critical thinking. So far, we've been talking about critical thinking. Everybody has been calling for this. Have we thought about it critically? Thinking about critical thinking? We're talking here about metacritical thinking, ladies and gentlemen. We need to look at critical thinking critically. Are we really adopting it in the right way? Are we really thinking about it in the right way? Are we honoring critical thinking in the right way? Or is it just a slogan for us, really? So, and then, only then, we will be able to do justice to ELT professionalism in Oman. Because really, Oman deserves the best, as I said earlier. And I'm highlighting this today. So, maybe then we need to join effort, really. And it's high time we looked at TESOL in Oman, ELT in Oman, from a very, very different perspective, and have taken it to a very different level. Thank you very much. I was given half an hour, but look at me. I'm saving time today. And we will have then time towards the end, inshallah, for each and every talk delivered today. Thank you very much to all of you. The mic is back to you, Radwana.
Thank you very much indeed, Professor Ali Al Issa. Now, we move on to the next part of our conference. I would like to welcome Zainab Al Balushi and Dr. Victoria Tuzlukova. Now, a little introduction about Ms. Zainab Al Balushi. She is an assistant lecturer at the Center for Preparatory Studies at Sultan Qaboos University. She holds an MA from the University of Warwick in the UK in teaching English for specific purposes. And she has been in the ELT field for 25 years, teaching and researching. And she is currently the head of Department of English for Humanities, CPS at Sultan Qaboos University. And she has presented her research findings at several conferences nationally and abroad. Her research interests include student autonomy, teacher autonomy and evaluation, social responsibility, and motivational strategies. Zainab will be presenting about her study, which was conducted with Dr. Victoria, who is a faculty at the Center for Preparatory Studies at Sultan Qaboos University, which she joined in 2006. During her time at the center, she has been involved in several research projects and initiatives. So, without further ado, I would like to welcome Ms. Zainab Al Balushi.
See this
Yes.
slide now? All right.
Yes, it's clear. Thank you, Walid. So the title is Teaching English. Teaching English in the context of socially responsible projects. It will touch base on some of Prof. Ali's thoughts, because here we are talking about social responsibility and how can we make our students socially responsible towards their community and their country. And inshallah, it'll bring up the community into a better shape. So the next slide, we'll talk about the overview or the outline. Yes. So I'll give some information about the overview of changing trends and perspectives in ESP and ELT, there will be a short discussion on social responsibility as ethical framework and how it is integrated and implemented to support students' development and enhancement of their skills in the context of ESP courses in the higher education institutions in Oman. So this was a joint project from SQU about, and we conducted the project on higher education institutions in Oman. We were researching how much of social responsibility was actually incorporated there, and you will see the results later. There will be a sketch of possible paths to teaching social responsibilities, practices, experiences, and future decisions. And there will be a focus on socially responsible projects done in the CPS in SQU. Next slide. So a saying by Frank Smith, language is not a genetic gift, it's a social gift. Learning a new language is becoming a member of the club, the community of speakers of that language. Just a thought for the day. So English for specific purposes was actually my major during my MA a long time ago. It stands for, of course, the different needs and wants and purposes and specificity that people want when they learn the English language. Next slide. Okay. So English for specific purposes is about extending the boundaries. It's having a specialist language that either focuses on a target environment of academia or a particular occupation. It's an oriented inquiry that spans different theories and domains. The teaching of English, especially in the context of English for specific purposes, should extend its boundaries to focus on students' competencies and skills and the required skills for future, for like either a scholarly, professionally, work environment, and a market. It could also be said that it's an encouragement of moving away from the traditional information-based teaching approach to a more skill-based and even attitude-based educational approach. So we, in ESP, the learners actually give their interest, what they want to learn, and why do they want to learn the language. So the goal of an ESP teaching project would therefore be that of helping people adapt to creative endeavors, social interaction, imaginative solutions, and critical thinking is also involved here. So I'm going to talk about two trends here with regards to ESP and ELT. Trend number one is a change in perspectives on English teaching and learning. It's a change in views of the role of ELT. For example, the replacement of the term tenor, teaching English for no obvious reasons, by TESOL, which is teaching English for social responsibilities. And trend number two is changes in goals of English teaching and learning. It's a change from focusing solely on developing language skills and mimicking native English speakers to fostering a sense of social responsibility in students, growing awareness of the importance of producing social responsible citizens of the society, so learning the language to enhance that and to produce better goals. Next slide. Okay. So how is this contextualized in the Omani tertiary education? ESP teaching and learning practice utilizes a skill-based teaching approach ascribed to its far-reaching partnership with the Oman 2040 Vision Initiative and the 21st Century Educational Thinking and the Planning for the Future. However, in the current context of economic and digital transformation of the country and whatever is happening also around the world, there's a need for extending an ESP inquiry with an aim to explore how ESP classroom in our educational institutions can provide broader skill sets and job-specific capabilities to help our students achieve their future goals. So in an ESP classroom, how is social responsibility integrated into the teaching and learning? So ESP is charged with social responsibility. They actually go together. Teachers should define educational objectives that help students discover that they can make a difference and live in harmony with one another, and also produce good results for the future that can help the community besides themselves. For this to happen, the curriculum has to be revamped. Content has to be rethought. We need to do a lot of changes, as Prof. Ali has indicated in his speech. So now to shed light on our main topic, which is social responsibility. What is it? It's about taking responsibility to behave ethically and with sensitivity towards social, cultural, civic, and environmental issues. It involves the mandatory presence of the object of socially responsible behavior, that is for what the subject of the activity is responsible, which is entrusted to the person, taken by the person as a commitment, the norm of activity. So it is a personal responsibility that has effects on the entire community. It's a consequence of social activities related to satisfaction of individual needs, interests, priorities, and internal guidelines. It's a condition of interaction between individuals, again, moving, and the society formed and manifested only in the process of human activity, in which individuals act as both subject and object of responsibility. So they are doing their role, but at the same time, they are also helping other people achieve their own roles. Next slide, please. Walid.
This is the next.
Okay. Yes, okay. So the concept of social responsibility is being given increased emphasis in all aspects of society. Personal and social responsibility outcomes of education are considered to be striving for excellence for both students, teachers, and other members of society, contributing to a larger community, of course, because it is actually addressing countries and also nations worldwide, taking the perspectives of others seriously and working to achieve that. So now, the classroom, again, teaching and learning. What's the goal of our teaching? It's of course more than just words. It's a connection between language and culture. It's a need to go above and beyond basics of language to develop respect and empathy. And we as teachers are doing that all the time. Next slide. So what comes to mind when you think about teaching social responsibility? How can we introduce it to our students? How can we incorporate it in our curriculum? What methods and strategies can we use? So your sense of social responsibility directs you to be an agent of change. And you here means the teacher and the student alike. You are driven by convictions about what this world should look like, how its people should behave, what actions should they do, how their governments should control their behavior, and how its inhabitants should be partners in the stewardship of the planet. So it's like a joint responsibility, a full one. Most ELT organizations have to create teaching and learning environments that model and encourage social responsibility. So the aim of our research project was to achieve something like this. We want most ELT organizations to help achieve this goal of incorporating social responsibility in their curriculum. Okay, so in Oman higher education institutions, after our research and interviews and questionnaires and stuff, we came up with the following results. It's a community service. It actually appears in community service activities that are done in the institutions, in some of the extracurricular activities that students do during their studies, teaching materials and tasks like some texts, some discussions, some topics that actually touch on social responsibility tasks and activities, focus on development of character strengths, including honesty, kindness, fairness, cooperation, and stuff. So experiential learning is also one of the aspects. It appears in case studies that normally touch issues related to the society, and some of the exercises that students also do during their studies. Another type is problem-based learning, which is the most effective training programs that focus on social problem-solving skills, or a combination of social problem-solving, behavioral strategies, and self-control. And I will talk more about the problem-based learning in the following slides, because we do have that in our courses. So what is problem-based learning? It's an instructional and curricular learning-centered approach that empowers learners to conduct research. So learners are asked to conduct research, integrate theory and practice, and apply knowledge and skills to develop a viable solution to a defined problem. So the students need to find a problem that is happening in the society. They need to search for information related to it, causes, other factors relating to it, and then try to find a solution. Though relatively recent in English language teaching, PBL, or problem-based learning, according to Al-Busaidi, it can aid language acquisition and emphasize the meaningful use of the language as a tool for communication and problem solving. And it also uses, or it engraves values of the society and how to improve it into the students. PBL is also considered to be an effective approach to the 21st century skills teaching and learning. For example, we have the social responsibility as one of them, creative thinking, and active learning as well. Okay, here I'm going narrower, and I'm going to talk about ESP courses at Sultan Qaboos University. So it's a semester-long process aimed to integrate language and 21st skills enhancement. It's a team-centered and collaborative inquiry-based approach. So we have like a group of 3 to 4 students working on one project. It's a student self-directed and facilitator guide. The teacher is the facilitator as well. And it mitigates socio-specific, scientific, socio-cultural issues related to the society when it comes to students choosing their topic. So I'm giving an example here of 2 courses. We have LANC 1070, which is the business course, and the first business course for College of Economics students, and the second one is 2070. The project is an independent and group research work that aims to provide students with the necessary verbal and written communication skills, language related, for their field of study. It focuses on how to improve the economy of the country, and how to comprises 3 components. There is a report, there is reflections, and there is a presentation. And each student has actually a role in this. So it's a group, but each student is actually working on it. In 2070, it's a problem-based learning approach, which is utilized to identify a humanitarian problem in the society itself, provide exposure to challenges faced in the real world, where students work together, discuss, compare, review, and debate that problem. And then they also reflect on what they have learned. They grow socially responsible citizens in that regard and in that way. The teachers are facilitators that support the students, they follow up with them. So it's like a guided process. So it's also matching SU graduate attributes to relish good citizenship qualities, to be conscious of their national identity, and to be socially responsible, engage in the community affairs, be more productive, and more mindful of contemporary issues and how to deal with them, how to go about them, and how to solve them. Focusing on the 4 dimensions of social responsibility, which are multicultural, ethical, civic, and environmental. So they touch on 4 areas. And it also encourages them to be in context of the ESP courses. I think I'll move on because I will not have a lot of time. So it's multicultural competence, and then I can move to the next slide, Walid. Ethical competence, which involves being knowledgeable about relevant ethical standards within one's field. Okay, and next one. The civic competence, which is one of the behaviors being participation in community organizations and supporting them. So together with experts and together with their teachers and together with their fellows, they work to apply that. The environmental competence is being able to identify how current environmental issues are relevant to one's field and how and what kind of input can that person give. So the business course, students focus on environmental issues, develop their non-profit organizations to tackle these issues. And actually, the results of such projects are really overwhelming because the students, they do target some issues related to the community, and they do really find solutions for them. I have, in my capacity of as an HOD, attended presentations or exhibitions of such students' projects, and they were really, really fruitful. And I was also following up in the community, and I saw that a lot of their projects and suggestions were actually taken into consideration. So what is the lesson learned here? PBL is a component which is engaging and learning. It is experience-centered while involving integrated language skills teaching and learning and integrating course-based materials with the PBL topics and tasks. We found it to be really, really useful. The students also commented that they have benefited a lot and that it is actually guiding them for better future endeavors. PBL component supports active and collaborative learning. Students get engaged with each other. It's an integration of ideas because when they work together, they also support each other and they discuss, they brainstorm and stuff. And experience while contributing to students' development as socially responsible citizens through their involvement in the project itself. And they have actually also confessed that. It enhances collaboration, development of the project, working together with other people, learning from each other, and learning about their own skills and abilities, because some students, when they do such projects, before doing them, they don't realize that how much of skills they have actually. It's a component, okay, we can leave that one. Okay, and it's educationally significant. It contributes to enhancing students' integrated skills and cultivating their social responsibility competencies, which they will take with them to the future. Okay, so the final comments are that in the era of economic and digital transformation, teaching and course design should focus more on real-world tasks and needs. They should provide students with the tools and strategies they need to effectively learn and thrive in the ESP courses and in their entire study plans. Social responsibility is among the important 21st century skills in relation to students' future professional success and also in relation to them getting into the job market and getting jobs that actually help the society. The opportunities to teach social responsibility should be addressed when considering future development of the ESP curriculum and its delivery, and in planning, like when we now think of needs analysis, we have to include social responsibility there. I think this is the end of my presentation. This is a final thought. Social responsibility, it doesn't just happen. It takes attention, intention, and time. And inshallah, we will reach that in the future. Thank you so much. And
thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Zainab Al Balushi, for presenting that. Dr. Jamila Al Siyabi teaches at the Center for Preparatory Studies at Sultan Qaboos University, and she is the author and co-author of a number of publications, and she presented at national and international conferences. Her main research interests include writing, communication, culture, and inclusion. Dr. Jamila's research was conducted jointly, as mentioned, with Dr. Victoria, who is an English language faculty at the English for Humanities Department at the Center of Preparatory Studies at Sultan Qaboos University. The presentation aims to examine how innovations in education and technology can be used to shift practices and perspectives of English language teaching in the Middle Eastern context to being universally accessible and equally usable, more inclusive, and tailored to students with individual needs, and at the same time acknowledging the enormous efforts of the Omani government to protect the rights of people with special needs in education and provide them with the necessary facilities, materials, and resources. And this paper focuses particularly on the innovations in teaching English to visually impaired students at tertiary education level, and explores the views of teachers from the higher education institutions in Oman and about the successfully challenging aspects of addressing the problems faced by students that have a significant loss of vision. And it explores creating an inclusive language learning environment. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dr. Jamila Al Siyabi.
Thank you so much, Radwana. Thank you for introducing me. And salam to everyone and hello to everyone here. I would like to share my slides, so please tell me when it's...
Yeah, Dr. Jamila, you can simply share the slides from the lower part. The present now button, yes.
While Dr. Jamila shares her slides, I'd like to remind everyone, please feel free to put your comments and your questions in the chat box, and we will have a QA session at the end around 12:15. Thank you.
Can you see my slides now?
Indeed, yes, we can.
Yeah, so hello everyone. So as Radwana said, this is a joint project, and including Dr. Tuzlukova, but also a number of colleagues from the Center for Preparatory Studies from SKU. It is a funded research, and we are actually in the last year of the first phase and the first year of the second phase, which I'm going to talk about a little bit during my talk. So it's about innovations for inclusion of special needs English language learners in tertiary education in Oman. Recent research indicates that having students with visual impairments in a classroom can be challenging for teachers, and the learning environment of the English language classroom is no exception. And in response to these challenges, as SKU has started since 2010, receiving people and students, I mean, with visual impairments and different levels of impairment. The use of assistive technology is currently applied to language teaching and learning at any stage of education. Assistive technology is viewed as a tool and also at a catalyst for change in language pedagogy. And advancements in such practices potentially lead to English language education that is universally accessible, equally usable, and more inclusive and tailored to students' needs, including the use of assistive technology, which is viewed as an essential element of change in language teaching and learning. Because the university has started receiving these types of students, they have learned in the process, and they have started to learn from their mistakes, to learn from teachers' feedback, students' feedback, and they were just progressing in the process. In addition to emphasis in technology, teacher training, professional development are relevant factors. So there were like a lot of programs that involved inviting experts from countries around that have had some experience with inclusive education and visual impairment training. And there were a lot of workshops done at SQ and at the CPS to help teachers prepare for receiving these kinds of students, because there are certain faculties at SKU that have programs that allow students with visual impairments to join. And obviously teachers in those programs and departments have to be ready anytime, any semester, to have like a student or two who have issues with their vision, and therefore should be ready to receive and to teach and to assess and to interact and to include those students in their daily classes. So there was a lot of professional development and sessions going on, and a lot of interaction going on between the teachers who have those students and other teachers who've had those students, and also the coordinators and the decision makers at the Center for Preparatory Studies and also SKU. So pedagogical implications include in the literature, directing English language educators on how to access and effectively use assistive technology that supports and the practice of inclusive education and enhances students' teaching and learning. And in that regard, because there is a direct need, teachers from the Center for Preparatory Studies have thought of getting involved in these projects that look at different people in the community of SKU who are involved in the teaching and learning and in supporting students with visual impairments. So there were two projects, and I could call them like two stages because they are very much linked. So the first project is a funded project, and it's focused on the innovations for the inclusion of special needs of English language learners in tertiary education in Oman. And this project aims to explore how innovations in education and technology can be used to shift practices and perspectives. And also acknowledging the enormous efforts that are already clear in the context of the Omani institutions, and since inclusion of this group of students is actually part of protecting their human rights as people with disabilities and giving them equal chances to education, especially in higher education, which is, according to the literature, is a recent trend. And that involves providing them with the necessary facilities, materials, resources. This research focuses on innovations in teaching English to this kind of students. And it also explores the views of teachers from higher education institutions. It also looked at the decision makers at the Center for Preparatory Studies, the people who worked in the administrations coordinating the support and the teaching and learning of the visually impaired, and had a lot of interaction with teachers, and also lab technicians. So that was the first stage. The second stage which started this year, it looked at investigating the learning and the pedagogy for blinds and partially sighted students in Oman's tertiary education. And it looked at the constructions and the dynamics of language learning practices and pedagogies for this group of students, and also looked at identifying the visual impaired language learner profiles, their motivations and challenges. So what's special about the second stage of the project is it included students as well. So we're after looking at their perceived experiences learning at SKU, and also their motivations, their stories of success, but also the challenges. And also we're looking now, we're focusing more on teachers, because in the first stage we looked at the decision makers, the lab technicians, the coordinators. Now we're focusing actually on teachers in the field, and we're also looking at their perceptions and their experiences teaching the visually impaired. So the challenges, their inspirations, the frustrations. We're looking at the strategies they have implemented to include visually impaired students in their classes, and to see how well they've done that, what kind of things they would love to see in terms of developing materials, assessments, helping students to have equal access to the kind of services that regular SQ students have at the university. We're also looking at the identification of these parameters, and we're saying that we're hoping that this will provide a platform for the creation of guidelines to mitigate possible challenges and provide a smooth adjustment to tertiary education and successful language learning for the Omani visually impaired learners. So as I said, I'm just giving you like a summary of what has taken place already and what is taking place now. So we are now finalizing stage 1 and we have started with stage 2. So we've been interviewing visually impaired students, teachers who taught visually impaired students, and we're exploring important areas related to teaching, learning, materials, assessments, and strategies, and also lessons learned and challenges as well. So we're conducting semi-structured interviews with those students and also teachers who've had the experience of teaching the visually impaired. And we're hoping that we are going to generate data and for and practical tips as well for teaching and learning and assessment for institutions, for SKU and also for institutions in Oman, because we've got a number of institutions, higher education institutions, all of them are private apart from SKU, who have started incorporating programs for the visually impaired students. The achievements so far: we have worked on raising awareness at SKUs, publishing in SKU publications like imprints and ECRA, raising awareness among students and teachers about the project and the goals for the project. We've worked, we have, participated in many events in Oman and beyond, talking about the experience of the inclusion at SKU. We have also met with people who have gone a long way with inclusion of different disabilities, with some focus on visual impairments. We have done some kind of dissemination of knowledge. We're hoping that we've done a good job with that. And also conducted professional development, workshops and sessions at different institutions in Oman. And we're hoping that we are spreading the word about inclusion and the significance of inclusion and how it is the way forward now, according to Oman Vision 2040. And other especially government institutions in Oman, they have a lot of pressure from the Ministry of Higher Education to start working on developing programs that allow visually impaired students to join. And we're trying to address the points that they are worried about, which are genuine points that involves financial support and having to have expertise and teachers who have had some experience with inclusion and with visual impairments, because they believe that they need to be ready first before they make these decisions. The scenario was a bit different at SKU because it started with the passion of some people who insisted on opening up programs for the visually impaired students. And actually Center for Preparatory Studies was like the first station, let's say, to receive those students. So people learn from their mistakes. They learn from what teachers say, what coordinators say, and what students say, and they developed in the process. But it's actually, when I refer to Oman Vision 2040, it goes back to citizens' human rights, and that they should have equal chances to quality education. And part of quality education to the visual impairments is that the programs have to be tailored to their needs and to their nature of their disabilities, and try to equip them with the skills that suit what they're capable of to be able to function in the community of SQ, and to prepare them to function well in the future when they join the job market. So these are part of what we have worked on raising awareness and exchanging expertise and publishing about the outcomes of the research that we've done so far. And a lot of we get sometimes a lot of people from different institutions in Oman who are very enthusiastic about the idea, but there are also other people, and for genuine reasons, they talk about their let's say fear or hesitation about including those types of students that involves risk risk assessment, the readiness of those colleges and universities to receive this type of students, because it's obviously involves a lot of accommodation and a lot of support that these institutions have to be ready about doing. And part also of the outcomes of the project that we worked on, we in the team, we have worked on designing a course for SQ staff that orients them to the technologies that are used to help them interact with visually impaired students and to help them prepare materials for teaching and learning purposes, and also to make them aware of assessment. And it's probably, so this course started beginning of last month, and is still, the training part is finished now, people working on their projects and on their reflections and submissions of their of activities that demonstrate their understanding of the course objectives. So, and this course started at the Center for Preparatory Studies, and then it was with some cooperation between the Center for Preparatory Studies and the Center for Excellence and Excellence of Teaching and Learning at SKU, settle. They have modified the course a bit to suit, we worked with them as a team, the team of researchers, and we worked with them on how to accommodate this course and tailor it to meet the wider community. So instead of the Center for Preparatory Studies, it's actually addressing SQ staff coming from different faculties that normally receive visually impaired students. And it was part. This is like a high flex course, so it starts with a face-to-face class where the course is introduced. Different people involved in the design and in the research of this area were talked about, and we interacted with the attendees. We listened to their concerns. Like briefly, they talked about their experiences, and then. That's like the second part of it was online, where they receive the task, they work on them, they submit, they reflect, and then they come like at the end of like beginning of the following week, and they come with their to face-to-face session where they interact and share their experience, but also get help if they have any with the kind of assistive technology that they had to read about and to think about and reflect on and see how they can use these technologies in their own context, because they come from different faculties, different majors, so they probably have different issues with visually impaired students. So we're proud that like a major outcome of stage one of our research turned out to be like a course that can be used for the community of Sultan Qaboos University. And part of it is of this course was to get the staff feedback on how to modify it and what else they would like to have to receive training on to help them be better prepared to receive visually impaired students at SKU. So my session actually focused on visual impairments and the notion of inclusion, which based on like we've been involved in so many sessions in Oman and outside Oman, and it looks like some teachers are still in a way resisting the idea, because they say, why do we have to go through this? This also came in the themes that some teachers felt like they have some kind of a fear of the unknown, because it's something that they haven't done before. They haven't received like in-service or even pre-service training on. They feel it's like an extra burden. They're already overloaded. They are worried about regular students that they might not receive the proper attention because they're busy working on visually impaired students or two visually impaired students in their classes. But actually, when we talk about it, when we receive training, when we get to have when we have ideas on technologies that that can be used with those students, and there are also profiles like what those students are already good at, I think things are much better. And based on the interviews that we had with teachers who had those kind of students, it was really inspiring and enlightening for the team to see that some teachers really appreciated the experience of having visually impaired students in their classes, because they felt that it also affected their regular students positively. Even like with what Zainab talked about with their social responsibilities, showing their care and showing their support to this group of students and learning from them, because those students come with different experiences, just like the way our regular students do, and some of them are really high tech. So knowing them. And that's why the student's profile is a big thing in our second stage of the project, where we are emphasizing the importance of the student's profile that will help the teacher be more prepared to help those students in class when they know their background, they know what those students are good at, how what technologies they already use, what devices they have that help them with their learning. When they have some ideas about the training that those students have they had their training in regular schools or in specialized schools for the blinds? And we're hoping that from analyzing students' interviews and teachers' interviews, that we will come up with some even practical ideas for teachers based on those teachers and students, to help them with the teaching, with the learning, with the assessment, and to make them feel more confident and more positive about inclusion at SQ. And they use, they join. So yeah, I'm ready for questions if you have any. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Dr. Jamila Al Siyabi. Thanks for raising awareness and providing us an insight on your research into this very important topic of inclusive education in the Sultanate of Oman. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you. Our next presenters, now moving on to inclusive education, to AI. Ahlam Al-Rawahi and Jokha Al-Hosni will be presenting on AI-assisted language learning. Ahlam Al-Rawahi has been teaching at SQU for 15 years. She holds a Master's of Learning Science and Technology from University of Sydney in Australia, and her research interests are educational innovation and reform. Jokha Al-Hosni has been teaching English at SQU, Sultan Qaboos University, for 12 years, and she holds a master's degree in curriculum and instruction from Purdue University, USA. And her research interests are curriculum design and blended learning. Now, this presentation will start with providing an insightful introduction to the concept of AI-assisted language learning and emphasizing the appropriate mindset required to embrace this revolutionary innovation. And furthermore, a number of AI tools for language learning will be presented, with particular emphasis on the role of chatbots. In addition, the presentation will delve into the realm of designing interactive language learning tasks, offering insightful discussion and practical examples to illustrate the concepts. And lastly, an exploration of the limitations of AI-assisted language learning tools will be touched upon. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Ahlam and Jokha to the virtual stage.
Thank you very much, Anwar. Thank you.
Thank you, Radwana.
Can you hear us well? Yes. Okay, I'll just start sharing. Should I? Sharing. Let us know if there is a problem with the sound. Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for actually dedicating this time to advance our profession with us. So basically, Jokha and I today will present about AI-assisted language learning with a special emphasis on the use of ChatGPT as a tool for learning English. So the first thing we want to do is actually introduce you to the ChatGPT. I'm sure many of you have already, of course, heard about it, started learning about it, and maybe even using it. Just for those who are not that familiar with it, ChatGPT was introduced in November 2022, and amazingly, in only 5 days, it reached 1 million users. So you can see how fast growing this technology is. And it reached 100 million users in only 3 months. So, and what is also important about this is that students and academicians are among the early adopters of ChatGPT. Yes, exactly right. This is us and our students. So it is widely used, it is widely adopted by the people in the educational system, but there are still doubters about it. There are still people who are skeptical and who are resisting this technology and resisting this change. And the question is it really the #1 reason for cheating? If we think about it, cheating started ever since the internet was around, even before the internet. So cheating was there. Students did do things to work around the system and around the assessment items we give them as teachers. So ChatGPT is not the problem, really. And if we look at this diagram, this is a very well-known diagram showing the phases of technology adoption. On the left side, you can see the early adopters, the visionaries. So are you among these? Have you already adopted this technology? Or are you still on the, in the extreme right side? Are you still skeptical or conservative about it? Or maybe you are in the pragmatics section where you are actually thinking, how can this be useful in our profession? And for me, to be honest, I wasn't from one of the early adopters. I thought, what is this adding? I thought it was a threat more than an opportunity. But when I started opening my eyes to the potential, I started being from the early majority, thinking about the functionalities that ChatGPT can provide me with as a teacher and how I can empower my students with this revolutionary innovation and technology. And interestingly, even the Deputy Vice Chancellor here at SKU, Dr. Nasser Zidi, he said himself that the future belongs to those who use AI. And he still thinks and says he can't understand that how many people still don't use AI in their work. And he himself said that he uses it in his high-stake tasks, work tasks. So let's adopt this mentality. Let's welcome ChatGPT in our educational reality. And instead of asking the question, should students use ChatGPT, why not change that question and say, how can students best use ChatGPT and harness its power as a language tutor and assistant without violating our ethical practices? So this is the question that we are trying to answer, Jokha and I, in this presentation, and we'll do that through taking you through practical tips to use it in our educational, in our classes, English language classes.
Exactly. So as Ahlam mentioned, the purpose of this presentation is to encourage students, through you, to encourage students to realize that AI tools, especially the chatbots, and the most popular example here is ChatGPT, they can use these chatbots as language assistants rather than using them as host writers. So if students can actively contribute to the output of whatever produced by chatbots, then they will feel that these tools have the potential to be their language assistants or language tutors. So I'll walk you through some interactive tasks students can perform while using ChatGPT. I'll start with interactive games, and one of the popular examples of interactive language games is Guess What or Guess Who. So here, as a student, I can practice creating yes or no questions and practice some vocabulary through playing this game with ChatGPT. Here I put a prompt for ChatGPT. Let's play Guess Who game. Please answer with yes or no only, and I will go first. Then I start giving the question, is your person a scientist? ChatGPT replied no, and you can imagine that I would keep giving yes no questions to ChatGPT until it gives me the right answer. Another game is trivia quiz, and trivia quiz is basically questions and answers. So in this trivia quiz, the students can ask ChatGPT to provide him or her with questions on a particular topic. So let's say that if we want students to improve their vocabulary on or register related to one of the fields, let's say business, for example, then the students can enter this prompt. I will play with you trivia quiz on vocabulary related to business. You give me the definition of the word and I answer. So ChatGPT will play the role of giving definitions, questions like definitions on vocabulary related to business, and the student would answer this question. So ChatGPT started with this definition, a legal agreement between two or more parties to conduct business together and share profits and losses. So what's the word? I put here partnership, but I misspelled the word partnership. So I knew the word, but I misspelled it. So ChatGPT replied by saying close, but the correct word is partnership. So it corrected the spelling for me and then gave me another definition. Then I answered, but this time I answered wrong. So it gave me the correct answer with explanation. Then what's interesting, if you can see here, I asked ChatGPT to take turns. So now it's my turn to ask ChatGPT by giving a definition, and he would provide the answer. Then it agreed, and you can imagine that this type of task can help students improve his spelling, vocabulary, and learn, practice what he already know. If you have like a list of vocabulary to practice. And this is not only limited to vocabulary. You can imagine the number of questions you can ask when play trivia quiz with ChatGPT. Another game is Would You Rather? And it's a very interesting game. It actually helps students be imaginative, and it's actually thought-provoking type of game. So here I said, let's play Would You Rather? We take turns. I will start. Would you rather be a human being or a chatbot? So I asked this question. And then it answered by saying, as an AI chatbot, I don't possess, etc. Then it asked me this question: would you rather travel to the past or to the future? So you can imagine the kind of questions that ChatGPT can ask you in this game, and sometimes it tends to be funny. So students can imagine things, can think critically, can practice their vocabulary and writing through this game. Now, Ahlam, we'll move to the dictionary part.
Yes. Now, regarding the dictionary, ChatGPT can be like multiple dictionaries in one. So imagine like the dictionary, we said like ChatGPT can actually be used as multiple dictionaries in one, like how time-consuming it can be for students to check every single word, the meaning, the part of speech, the example, the Arabic translation, the synonyms, the antonyms, the collocations even, which students tend to love actually.
Hello again.
Sorry about that. Looks like the AI robots have attacked us. Please bear with us.
Okay. Can Dr. Jokha and Dr. Ahlam join us from another device? Probably there is a glitch on their devices that happens, and that's why we always ask for presenters to have plan B. Yeah, even using
while we wait for the ladies to come back online, please feel free to share your experiences of using the AI tool in the chat box. We're very interested to know how you make the most, or whether you're pro or against using AI.
Radwana, can you hear us now? I mean, it
Yes.
looks perfectly from our side. I don't know what the problem is.
We can hear you now.
This queue in the office, it's highly.
Let's share this screen again.
Okay, let me share the screen again. Okay. Can you hear us?
Yes, we can.
Yes, go ahead.
Let us know if anything happens. You can move on to the next presentation, or we can come back later. We can use a different device because it will take us some time. Okay.
Okay. Just for the record, how long do you have left in your presentation? Just so we have some idea.
Not
maybe
much.
10 minutes or even
Maybe
less.
Okay. Okay, ladies. Good luck. Carry on. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think the idea of the dictionary is very clear to you now, and that's the prompt on this left side. You can even have, a copy of this later, and you can improve on the prompt yourself. And then I asked ChatGPT to give me a coherent paragraph using the words in the table it provided me with. So again, learners can learn words in context. And then I asked ChatGPT to give me a follow-up activity to test my understanding of these words. So all in one, it's like a personal tutor right in front of you and for free. Another interactive task that I asked ChatGPT to give me is that to teach me as a student, as a student here, I'm talking like if I am a learner, English language learner, I can ask ChatGPT to give me a reading text, teaching me a target grammar point and a set vocabulary, a set of words that are related to a certain theme or genre. So here I asked ChatGPT to give me a reading text, teaching me the present continuous tense, and also science-related vocabulary suitable for my level. And I stated the level that I want, like as a student, elementary level. Now, the output was not that satisfying for me as a learner. I thought it was too easy. So I asked ChatGPT to actually make it a bit more difficult. And then I was happy with the task it provided me with. And it also gave me the answers, which I can check my answers against.
Okay, now I'll move to interactive tasks to improve students' speaking and mainly speaking, but you can see that other skills are also integrated. So here imagine now we are in a classroom with the students, then as teachers, let's put students in groups and ask them to create a prompt for a role play. So after creating that prompt for a role play, we can ask them to have their mobile phones, or if they have laptops or iPads, go to ChatGPT and enter this prompt that they created. So here, for example, you are at a doctor's appointment, create a conversation with the doctor, blah, blah, blah. So this is the prompt. Students created the prompts themselves, then asked ChatGPT to create the role play for them, between the patient and the doctor. So then we can ask the students, after they got if they are not happy with maybe the event or with the way with the flow of the conversation, and then they can practice the role play with their classmates, then they present it to the class. What I'm trying to say here through this activity is that we are trying to teach students to use ChatGPT as an assistant, and whatever produced by ChatGPT shouldn't be the final product. Students need to contribute to that outcome in order to improve their language. Another role play here, it's more interactive because I want to ask ChatGPT to take the other role. So here I asked, can I perform a role play with you? You are the waiter and I'm the customer. So I only gave ChatGPT the two roles, but the situation is not there. So go ahead and start. This is what it said. Then I said, good morning, sir. Then the problem that ChatGPT, after I said, good morning, sir, gave me the whole role play between both the customer and the waiter. Then I said, play the waiter role only. Okay, it's smart, it understood what I said, but we need to make the prompt very specific and clear for these chatbots. Then, okay, then I started the conversation. can I have a large table for 5 people? So I started the role play. The waiter, gave me the reply. Then the role play continued. Okay. With regard to debates, we can, as a student, they can start a debate with ChatGPT. Now with ChatGPT, then certainly I'm up for a debate. Please go ahead and let me know the topic you would like me to discuss. But then I said, can you suggest 5 topics for me? So if the student doesn't have any topic in mind and he or she wants assistance, then you can ask for a number of topics to be provided. ChatGPT provided me with 5 interesting topics. Then I selected this one about genetically modified foods. And ChatGPT said, let's proceed with the topic, but he assumed that I will argue against. It says that you will argue against. Please begin your argument. But then I didn't like that. I said, I will argue for. Okay, then it apologized, and then we started the conversation. I'm actually for using GMO and ChatGPT against. Then this actually helped students improve their debating skills, and at the same time, it can also help them improve their grammar and spelling skills, because improve their grammar and spelling. Because imagine, like at the end of the whole debate, we can ask the students to copy all the sentences he or she made, then paste them again and ChatGPT, and ask ChatGPT to correct grammar and spelling mistakes. Okay, so that also can be another activity, follow-up activity based on this debate task. Okay, this is the last slide, I believe.
Yes, the last slide. Thank you, Jokha. That was really interesting. The limitations, basically, of course, we all know this as teachers. This technology can be unethically used by students by over-relying on its generated papers, articles, essays. So plagiarism is there. It can be done through this, but again, this shouldn't hinder or it shouldn't prevent us from or stop us from using this technology effectively, as we mentioned before. It can also produce inaccurate information, but there's a solution around this. Students can actually now play the critical thinker's role here by asking students to actually critique what ChatGPT produces. So in this way, students can think critically and critique what this robot is doing. And finally, I think you have already seen through our examples that these chatbots or ChatGPT needs a lot of training to understand what you mean, what you want to do. And this can be time consuming only in the beginning, believe us. We did this in the beginning. It took us time to understand how these chatbots work, but with experience, we became like more creative when we engineered every prompt. That's it. Thank you very much, and sorry for the glitches.
Thank you very, very much indeed, ladies, for that very, very insightful presentation. Well, looks like we should let the robots, the AI bots in.
Seems so, yes.
No more resistance as we embrace the possibilities that they offer in transforming the future of education. And thanks for that remarkable presentation on using AI in learning. No doubt your insights will inspire teachers on how to make the most of these tools and to enhance language learning. Thank you once again, ladies.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Okay. And of course, once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to remind you that you can post your comments and questions in the chat box. I didn't say chat bot, chat box, and we'll be doing our best to answer as many as possible towards the end of the conference. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to our next presenter. It's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Walid Mohammed Shawky. He will be presenting a presentation called Unlocking Minds, Empowering Omani Language Learners Through Critical Thinking. And more about Dr. Walid. Dr. Walid Shawky holds a PhD from the Universities of Helwan and October 6th, Delta MA degree in TESOL from the University of Edinburgh, and a Cambridge King Abdulaziz University in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, and an educational consultant for the Cambridge University in the MENA region. He has published books on blended learning. He provided numerous training sessions and workshops to several universities in the Middle East and North Africa and presented at many conferences worldwide. And today's presentation will aim to highlight the benefits of incorporating critical thinking in language instruction, such as enhancing problem-solving abilities, fostering creativity, and developing effective communication skills. And this session will delve into practical strategies and activities that promote critical thinking in language lessons in Oman. It aims to emphasize the importance of assessing critical thinking skills through formative assessments, performance tasks, and self-assessments. Participants will also discover methods for integrating critical thinking into curriculum design, such as incorporating problem-solving tasks and encouraging divergent thinking. So overall, this session aims to empower Omani language educators with the knowledge and tools to foster critical thinking skills in their classroom and ultimately unlocking the minds of learners and preparing them for success in a complex and rapidly changing world. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Walid Mohammed Shawky.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rizwana. Thank you very much. It's a very intensive orientation. Thank you very much. And I was really happy to hear that people were mentioning critical thinking, and when they were talking about AI, it's a very important link between the technology and empowering our students with critical thinking skills. So as you can see, I hope that the slides are seen by everyone. Are they?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So as you can see, that our topic today is about unlocking minds, empowering Omani language learners through critical thinking skills. I mean, these are the session outlines. The first, we're going to start with what do we mean by critical thinking? What are the skills involved in critical thinking? And then look at the characteristics of a critical thinker, whether he's a teacher or the learner. And then we will look at one of the most famous classification of critical thinking skills, which is Bloom's taxonomy. This is a very widely used taxonomy in most educational institutions and curriculums. We will also look at the teacher's role. What is the teacher's responsibility to empower his students with critical thinking skills? And we have also some practical activities that will guide teachers on what are the critical thinking skills, what kind of activities we can use in our classrooms to activate our students' thinking skills. And then finally, we will end with a conclusion. First of all, I would like to just think very quickly with you of what makes the difference in a successful school in business in general. So what do you think makes the difference if a person, we can say that this person is more successful than the others, or this manager or this institution? It's actually the ability to think, okay? I think we will all agree. I think there is another voice interrupting. Hello?
Yes,
okay.
Having them muted.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
To mute them, thank you. Sorry, please continue.
Thank you. So yeah, we can agree that most successful people in their jobs are the ones who think, okay, and who critically think. So when we talk about critical thinking skills, we're not talking about them only in the educational context where students learn how to incorporate them and how to think critically. We're thinking about the future of our students as well. So we know that our students in the future will hold different positions in different places, and their ability to critically think will be highly appreciated if they can use it or they can manipulate it successfully in their work context. So Robert Fisher, for example, mentioned that a good teacher makes you think even when you don't want to. I mean, we have seen many teachers. I mean, I worked as an observer. I worked as the head of professional development at King Abdulaziz University for like 10 years. And it was part of my responsibility to visit teachers in their classrooms and see, observe them, give feedback about their teaching skills. So one of the most important skills that we're usually looking for is to see the teacher's ability to help his students to think, okay? And again, this is what we call it part of the TTT, or teacher talking time, and STT, which is student talking time. So when teachers usually give the role to the students and empower them, help them, support them to think, speak, present, have a role in their classroom, this makes or increases the STT, which is student talking time, and reduces the teacher talking time. So this is one of the aims of education now. We know that most of our students do not have too much opportunity to practice the skills outside the classrooms. So within their classrooms, it's very important to empower them with these skills. In our 45-minute session, which is usually daily, we need that to incorporate as much of critical thinking and providing students with opportunities to learn and acquire these skills to be able to use them outside. So first, what is critical thinking? Well, critical thinking is one of the buzzwords, okay, nowadays, and we can see that many course books and many curriculums in many different parts of the world now incorporate critical thinking as one of the major skills in each course book and throughout all the levels. Everybody thinks that they have been teaching in class, but unfortunately, very few people understand what it really means. Yeah, we can see the teachers can find some sections in their course books that say this is critical thinking, but they don't actually have enough training on what is critical thinking, how can we teach critical thinking. They use the activities as they are in the course book without actually training their students on these different types of skills. So critical thinking could be one of these three. Is it reading what experts have said about subject and summarizing the main points only, identifying all bad points about particular piece of writing, or reading a range of different views about subject and using this knowledge to shape your own thoughts? Which one do you think is closer to what we mean by critical thinking? 1, 2, or 3? Well, unfortunately, yeah.
You can raise your hands, by the way.
So which one do you think, which of these refer more to critical thinking?
3. Maida said 3.
Okay.
3.
Yes.
Catherine,
Perfect.
thanks to Catherine Shamsa. Well, it seems that there is a consensus here.
Okay, thank you very much. So yes, I totally agree with you that it's not just about reading something and reflecting on what you're reading. It's actually using this knowledge to create something different, something unique, something that belongs to you. Okay, yeah. So we have another definition, a similar definition of critical thinking here. And I would like you to use the words on the right side to complete it. So critical thinking is the ability to think what and what. Use the words on the green words on the right to complete. So it's critical thinking is the ability to think what and what. I'm sorry, I think my session is a little bit interactive, so I need your participation.
Yes, people can unmute their microphones and participate.
I think it should be critical thinking is the ability to, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it is the ability to think rationally and clearly.
Thank you very much. Yes, it's your ability to think rationally and clearly. It includes the ability to engage in what and what kind of thinking.
Reflective and independent.
Exactly. Thank you very much. So critical thinking is not just a matter of accumulating information. It's how you are going to think, manipulate, modify, edit, change, analyze, and create, something unique at the end. Okay, so this is, as we said, it's your ability to think clearly and rationally, which is very important. It's the ability to engage in reflective and independent thinking. This is another important, one of the most common definitions of critical thinking made by Michael Scriven and Richard Paul. They say that critical thinking is the intellectually disciplined process of actively and skillfully conceptualizing, applying, analyzing, synthesizing, and evaluating information gathered from or generated by observation, experience, reflection, reasoning, or communication as a guide to believe and to act. So it's as we said before, we need to get the information, okay, gather the information or generate the information, okay. This could be done through observation or experience or reflection or reasoning or whatever method you are trying to do to accumulate or to gather this information, and then think about this information. Try to apply the knowledge that you've learned, try to analyze it, try to synthesize it, evaluate it, and then finally, as you can see, the last part of the definition, use all this knowledge as a guide to believe, and the two most importantly, act. So what do you think are the characteristics of a critical thinker? Well, as an example, say it's the ability to analyze. So what else? So a critical thinker is a person who, can analyze. What else? Can you try to think of other words that would describe a critical thinker? Think of yourself or one of your students or a person who you think that this person is a critical thinker. How would you describe him? What kind of abilities do you think he has?
Well, Bahia mentions independent and reflective.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bahia. Anything else? Hello?
Who is a critical thinker? Hello, critical thinkers.
Everyone is someone who can read the word and the word.
Professor Ali.
Breathe the word and the word. Thank you.
Read the word and the word.
Perfect. Yes, thank you. Any other ideas? Okay.
I think critical thinkers have the ability to ask questions from teachers, or by themselves they try to get questions and they try to answer.
Exactly. It's actually thinking about creating questions, and actually the most important is not just asking questions, it's asking the right questions that can give the appropriate answer that you're with the information that
coming to the truth by investigating how to be.
Exactly.
The fact, yes, the real fact, which should not be struggling with any other facts before. So I think it should be just gathering something which we can share in a proper way with others, which is stuck to the reality, not something imaginative. Yes, critical thinking, yeah, but you have to come to the real soil, not to fly to the moon alone and thinking that you are a critical thinking in another atmosphere. So you have to be in the soil with the reality itself.
Thank you. I totally agree with you. The ability of being applicable, creating ideas that are applicable. Yes. I mean,
also Catherine has mentioned in the chat box they can apply info to themselves. Shamsa has mentioned the one who can reflect, reason the situation, finding solutions. It goes on like that.
Okay.
So good.
So we have got some other characteristics here. So we believe that they have the ability to evaluate, they can communicate logically, they are open-minded, they are flexible, strive for understanding, inquisitive people, honest with themselves, and they have the desire to be well-informed. A critical thinker is usually the most informed student in your class. He reads all the emails from the teachers. He understands them. He asks questions about everything that he doesn't understand in the lesson. They usually try to help other students as well. So it's not just about their ability to ask, but they can also create, okay, something which can be useful. I mean, I remember when I was in college, we used to have some of our students who used to write summaries of the course book. So rather than having to study the full book, we have we can say that the best students in the college at that time, they used to create their own summaries of whatever the chapters or units, and they write them, they design them. They can use charts, they use mind maps to illustrate ideas. And then I remember that some of these were shared by other students. So they were copying them, and then other students were, taking these notes to study from as a guide for the final exams. So these are the ones who are creating, or not just taking the course book as it is, but they were creating something out of it to make it simpler, to make it easier, to make it more, supportive to other students as well. Okay. So we're now going to move to Mr. Bloom. Okay. I think Bloom taxonomy it started in 1956 something, when they were trying to create a taxonomy or a classification of the most important thinking skills that we need students to be able to do. And they came up, it's not Bloom's only, I think there were like 4 other scholars working together to create this project. So Bloom's taxonomy of learning objective is used to define how well a skill or competency is learned or mastered. This taxonomy has been widely used again in most course books. We're going to have a look at the skills which are incorporated in Bloom's taxonomy. As we can see here, we start from the very bottom. He created with his group this pyramid. And they believed that all these skills are very important to create or to educate your students to be critical thinkers. They started from the very bottom with the ability to remember, and then your ability to understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and finally to create. Along with these skills, they were also trying to find verbs that would help teachers. I mean, which this I think came later in the 90s, when they were trying to see what kinds of activities would help students do these skills. So they looked at, for example, at remembering, and looked at what kind of activities would help teachers or help students remember. So they found activities that would ask students to name something, describe something, relate, find, list, write, or tell or retell something. And then understanding, which is like activities which help students to compare, discuss, restate, predict, translate, and outline. The ability to apply, they found activities that ask students to show something, complete something, use it, classify it, examine it, illustrate it, or even solve it. The ability to analyze, some activities could be things like to explain, contrast, to examine, identify, investigate, and to categorize. To evaluate things, so they found activities that ask students to decide, to rate, to choose, to recommend, and to justify, to assess, prioritize, and then finally create is usually things that students need to make, like create, invent, plan, compose, construct, design, and imagine. So we can see them, the order or the critical thinking skills have been designed in this chart in a round. So they don't always follow the same structure as it is here. Students don't have to remember to be able to analyze, or they don't have to understand to be able to evaluate. So sometimes it's round, it's circular. Some skills might be incorporated in one activity. Sometimes one activity could take only one skill, and that depends on how the teacher created his activity to support his students. The skills in each section are often categorized as, sometimes we call them HOTS and LOTS. I mean, can you think of what do these acronyms mean? What do we mean by HOTS or HOT and LOTS, LOT? Can you think of what do these words mean?
Lower order thinking skills, higher order thinking skills.
Thank you very much. Yes, exactly. Yes.
UCK.
So we can see here that, sorry?
Yeah, that is
exactly.
Thank you, CK. I'm just thanking him for the answer.
Thank you very much, Steve. So we have lots which are lower order thinking skills, and higher order thinking skills. Lower order thinking skills are things like remember, understand, apply. Higher order thinking skills are things like analyze, evaluate, and create. If we usually look at the lower order thinking skills, we can see that they aim at gathering, collecting information, understanding them, but not actually creating something out of this knowledge. But when we look at higher order thinking skills, we see that students in this stage are able to process the information. They are able to create something new out of this knowledge. Okay, whether this thing could be their opinion, whether classifying which do they think is the most important, and then finally maybe creating something new. So I want you to think now of a teacher's role in critical thinking. So what do you think teachers should be doing? In the next slides, we are going to see some different types of activities that you can use in your classrooms, or you may have already been using in your classrooms, and then see how these activities would activate the process of critical thinking in your class. So first of all, before we move to this part, I want you to think of, what do you think is the teacher's role in the critical thinking process?
The first important point is to give a space for the students. This is the most important one, because without giving a space to them, you will just move around yourself alone and they will get nothing. Just give them the space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Provide enough opportunity for students to play around with the language, explore the language, think about the language, use different forms. It doesn't matter whether they are making mistakes or not. Okay.
But this takes us to the second point, Dr. Walid.
Yes.
Don't concentrate on the errors or the mistakes, because in my session I will classify both mistakes and errors. So don't care about this.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay. So any other ideas? What do you think are the teachers?
In the chat box, Pooja is adding equity. Johnny is adding encouraging students to take risks. Equity and equality, exactly. Catherine's also adding having them choose a question and break into small groups to discuss and present. Another addition from Johnny, use real world problems as context for learning. Yeah, thank you. And everyone. Professor Anwar has another addition. Yes, Professor?
Please.
This is another Anwar, not me, Walid. Another Anwar, not me.
Okay, so we have two Anwars.
No, this is Anwar, not Anwar.
We have two Walids. We have.
Hey, Anwar. Okay.
I'm sorry, Anwar. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Never mind. So maybe thinking out of the box, because if the teacher give them like a chance to think critically, they're gonna identify the alternative solutions of any problem.
Thank you very much, Ms. Anwar. Very good idea. Well, actually, I really appreciate your feedback. Very, very informative. Thank you very much for the feedback and for your participation. This is what I was expecting.
You're most welcome. Thank you.
So as you just mentioned, there are so many rules, and I think most importantly is the teacher's ability to create an activity that activates these skills and supports the learning process. So one of the most important rules that we are looking for here is setting ground rules well in advance. Okay, making sure that students understand what's going on in this activity, what is expected of them, and sometimes setting an example or a role model. Showing respect for each individual student. Yes, never underestimate students' thinking skills or abilities or their answers. So try to always keep encouraging your students, whatever the answer they give, just give them the floor, tell them that you've done well, tell them that, yes, you can improve it, you can work on it, you can make it better next time. Okay, provide well-planned activities. Yes, again, make sure that the activities that you're creating is actually supporting the skills that you want your students to practice. It's always a good idea if you can ask a colleague to have a look at the design of your activities. Some teachers use the activities as they are in the course book. Others try to play around with the activities and make them more student-centered, make them more towards students' abilities to generate, create, think, criticize, and apply. So providing non-threatening activities that we just mentioned, something that's, we know that it's at the level of your students linguistically and culturally as well. Being flexible, you need to make sure that you always have the ability to make changes whenever needed according to the level of the students and according to the sequence of the events in your class. Exhibiting a positive attitude towards learning. Of course, again, this can come through, as mentioned in the feedback from colleagues, it is through encouragement. And then accepting individual differences. Yes, we need to understand that our students are not always the same. They have different opinions, and we have to accept them all. We have to know that they may not be able to understand the same context in the same way. And as we all know, one of the biggest challenges in reading is to get the writer's opinion. Because we judge what we read based on our background, based on our culture, based on our interpretation of what is written. So my interpretation could be different from yours, okay? And it doesn't mean that mine is wrong or yours is wrong. We are just two different people. Modeling thinking skills, okay? So again, you need to show an example, okay, that students can follow. Teaching the thinking skills. Yes, so many skills can be incorporated indirectly in some of the teaching contexts, but other skills have to be taught directly, okay? You need to train your students on how to remember activities and how to analyze activities and how to give their opinion, okay? Acknowledging every response and replying to it. Allowing students to actively participate, creating experiences that will support success, and then finally using a wide variety of teaching modalities, different resources that can meet different students' needs. In this part, it will be more of you than it's me. We have looked at Bloom's taxonomy, and you can see the skills are here in the picture on the left side. In this small pyramid, which are remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. We are going to look at some activities, and I want you to tell me which of these skills is activated, or the aim of this activity is to activate in your students or to train your students to do, okay? So for example, if we look at this specific example taken from a course book, it says, look at the notes below about 2 of the students from reading 2. So that means students have already read a passage. And we have this activity about it. Write the student's name at the top of columns A and B. So which of these skills is activated or practiced in this activity? Can you think, please? Which skill is practiced in this specific activity? Are we asking students here to create, evaluate, analyze, apply, understand, or remember?
Bahia is writing understand, Catherine remember,
okay.
I understand, okay.
I mean, sometimes they
Pooja analyze.
Okay.
All right. The slide is, I mean, the print is very small, by the way, if you can read it out.
Again, the activity. So the activity says, look at the notes below about 2 of the students from reading 2. Write the students' names at the top. Okay. So the students need to read a passage about 2 people. Okay. And then write who did what. Okay. In each activity. So for example, in A, who did this, and in B, who did that. So they just need to write the names. Well, I think one of the answers that you mentioned, Mr. Walid, was correct. Hello? Okay.
I'm afraid that here is cannot read the screen properly, by the way. Can you read it again, if you don't mind, Dr. Walid?
Okay. Look at the notes below about 2 of the students from reading 2. write the students' names at the top. So the students read a passage and then write the names of a passage about two people, okay, two students, and then write the name of the person who did what. Well, I think that the activity here is actually asking students to remember, because they only need to provide the names of the people who did these things in the reading passage. Okay, so the activity here, it has been designed to ask students to remember the information that they read in the passage. Let's move to another one. Look at this activity. Could you please listen? Okay, and then tell me again which activity or which skill is practiced here. Exploring space is very expensive. Some people think that it's too expensive. However, other people think it's a good way for governments to spend our money. Discuss both points of view and give your opinion. So this is a prompt, okay, asking students to write an essay about the, exploring space, who agrees and who disagrees, and why do they think so. And then we've got some questions. All these questions are about this piece of information. So it asks the students, for example, to look at the essay options, question above, and ask them, what is the main topic of the essay? Then what's the essay question? Okay, and then write introduction, write to side opinion essay, or write side opinion essay. Underline two points of view is space exploration, and which is against the space exploration. So which skill are we activating here through this activity?
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Dr. Walid. I know that your presentation is quite intriguing. We have only 3 minutes left, by the way.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
Thanks for the reminder, Mr.
Just a reminder, yeah.
As we can see here, yes, we have the prompt at the top, and we're asking students to think about it, analyze the information provided in the question or the topic. So here the activity is to encourage students to practice analysis. This is another activity where we have a family map, and then we're asking students to work together to think about the family tree. Think about the family tree and then answer these questions. Who is Samira's brother? Who is Fatima's mother? And the skill here is to understand the relationship between these people. We also have another questionnaire here, another activity with a questionnaire asking students to look at or answer these questions about themselves, whether they agree or disagree or strongly disagree or neither agree or disagree. And then students look at each other's answers and decide what do they think the appropriate job for their classmates. In this particular activity, because we are asking students to judge, okay, and think about what is the perfect job for their classmates, it's actually we're asking students to apply the knowledge that they have learned from this questionnaire into these different types of jobs. Another activity here is asking students to work in groups, look at the list of actions that people can take to avoid becoming ill, okay? And then try to agree on the most important. So we have different actions like washing hands, taking regular exercise, getting enough fresh air, having vaccines, and all these different types of actions. And students need to select 5 and tell which 5 are the most important. In this particular activity, we want our students to practice evaluation because they need to select 5. They need to tell why do they think this one is more important than the other. This activity also asks the students to practice creation, because here we ask students to create a map, okay, of their family members. So as we can see in all these activities that teachers can create something similar, and we have all these kind of activities can be incorporated in our course books. I want you teachers to be able to think of what kind of a skill are we actually after in this particular activity, and try to work and create more activities that can incorporate these. We have another example here.
Sorry to interrupt, Dr. Walid. We're really, time is against us, so I would request if you could just wrap up the presentation. I really appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
We're really enjoying this, but we have to go according to time. Thank you.
Thank you. So in summary, my idea is that I want you to think that, or to know that critical thinking can be taught at all language levels. It doesn't matter whether you're students in high school or in college or in primary school. Critical thinking can be incorporated in all levels and all stages and for all skills. Okay, so both HOTS and LOTS. So it doesn't matter whether it's creativity or analysis. Some teachers might think that these are not appropriate for my low-level students. No, you can apply these, all the skills with all different types of students, okay, regardless of the level. Again, according to you, create the activity that fits the needs and the level of your students. Critical thinking skills cannot be taught in isolation. Yes, they can. They need to be integrated through the course book, through the language context, through the skills that you need to add to your students and your syllabus. Scaffolded approach is very important to help or to teach critical thinking skills. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you very much, and sorry if I've taken a few more minutes. And if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask.
Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Walid.
Thank you.
And I think as educators, we can agree that critical thinking will never go out of fashion. And thank you for joining us and inspiring us to nurture critical thinking skills in ourselves and our learners, and for encouraging us to reflect on our role as educators and promoters of critical thinking. We're grateful for your contribution to today's conference, and thank you very much, and thank you to all of you, to our audience, for your valuable input. Your contribution and engagement is crucial to the success of this conference. Thank you very much, Dr. Walid. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're moving on to our next keynote speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Professor Anwar Mourssi. He will be presenting on the acquisition of L2 grammar in the context of Arab learners of English. Professor Anwar Mourssi received his MA in TESOL from Birmingham University in the United Kingdom in 2006, and received his PhD in TESOL and Applied Linguistics from the University of the West of England, Bristol, United Kingdom in 2012. His major field of study is second language acquisition. He has worked as a teacher of English language in the Ministry of Education in Oman for 10 years and a lecturer of applied linguistics for about 16 years in Oman as well. He worked as an ELT and training consultant of MG Group for English language software programs. Professor Mourssi has published and edited a number of research articles and books. He has been appointed on the editorial board for some international ELT and applied linguistic journals in Norway, Canada, Iran, Finland, Malaysia, the USA, and the UK. Professor Mourssi is the co-founder, vice president, and the leader of TESOL Oman, which is officially affiliated to TESOL International in association in the USA since the 1st of March 2023. Now, his presentation is building on previous studies of cross-linguistic influence on SLA and principled criteria for confirming its existence in L2 data. He will be presenting about his study, which was run on 74 Arab learners of English, or ALEs, and he will be presenting a detailed analysis of the interlanguage stages of the simple past tense forms in 222 written texts produced by ALEs in the classroom setting. The presentation will shed light on the qualitative and quantitative analysis, in addition to descriptive analysis indicated 7 that ALEs may go through in the acquisition of the simple past. These findings will be presented to help English language instructors gain insight into the nature of L2 learners' mistakes and errors. So, ladies and gentlemen, from now until 11:55, we have the pleasure of the company of Professor Anwar. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rizwana. Can you see the slides?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yeah. First, I'd like to thank all of you. In fact, I was not expecting that we have all of this number of audience and participants. To be honest, I am the happiest person today because our dream, I and Ali, came true. We have been struggling to build TESOL Oman. We have been friends and colleagues for 3 decades until now. And really, I appreciate all the supports come from the board of directors, Walid, Rizwana, Ahlam, Jokha, CK, all of you, Sonia, Zainab. And I'd like to invite all participants, all audiences to join TESOL Oman because this is for you. You are the next generation. We built it for you. We wanted to leave our fingerprints in the field. Anyway, let me start my session. As Rizwana mentioned, I try to do something to the field and investigate something with the students. I come to the ground. I come to the students themselves. I take care with the less able students. I classify the students into categories, able students and less able students. So I have some introduction and then second language acquisition theories, how I could upgrade these theories and what's new in the field and what I added to the field, and then how to implement my finding. Then I come to the conclusion. As Razwana mentioned, this studies is based on the previous studies of cross-linguistic influence on second language acquisition. And here, of course, I take care of Arab learners of English as second language learners. So this detailed analysis was made on the interlanguage stages of the simple past tense. Of course, I couldn't concentrate on all the grammatical points. I just selected the simple past because I found that many contexts analyze some issues related to the simple past, but nobody make any investigation about the tenses, specifically simple past in the Arab learners of English context. Of course, I followed the regular stages, collected samples after 2 weeks, after 2 months, and then after 4 months from 74 Arab learners of English. The analysis of non-target like. When I say non-target like, it means the wrong form, because academically and linguistically, we cannot say wrong and right, but we can say target like form and non-target like form. So after making qualitative and quantitative analysis and descriptive analysis, I found that there are some 7 or exactly 7 interlanguage stages that Arab learners of English may go through in the acquisition of the simple past. These findings, from my own point of view, can help the English language teachers to realize the nature of L2 learners' mistakes and errors. And here I come to comment why the teacher gave a very low mark for the students who have mistakes, but he doesn't know that this mistakes is one of the interlanguage stages towards learning using the grammatical points that he gave or the simple past. So let's start from upside down. Of course, I will not cover all the theories, but I will focus only the acquisition of the simple past, as I mentioned before. What? The literature. We have a very long literature, by the way. Many people came before us. 1967, there is Vellender who proposed that the verbs can be grouped into 4 types or 4 groups: the statives, to be, to have, to want, and activities, to run, to walk, to breathe, and accomplishment, to write a novel, to build a house, and achievement, to notice someone, to realize something, and to reach the summit. Okay. Hussein, 1995, observed that over 3 years period, 6 learners of language, L2 English, whose native language was French and Dutch, he found that the French learners were overall less proficient than the Dutch learners and never reached the stages where they could use past morphology productively. The factor of transfer were also involved specifically in the case of the past and non-past distinction where Dutch is closer to English. Why? And here I can stop. When I say French looks like the English because je suis malade, I am ill, comment tu t'appelles, what's your name? So there is a similarity between English and the French and also Dutch. But when we come to
Professor Anwar, sorry to interfere. Are you presenting your slides?
yes, no, I'm just no this slide. Yes, I'm just
okay, fine. Thank you.
Yes, yeah. So the similarity here between the languages make it easier. The more similar the language to English, it will be easier to the language learners to learn. But when it is difficult, when it's different, here there's a problem. Like Arab learners of English, Chinese learners of English, and Japanese learners of English, of course, there are many problems. When we come to McDonough, 2007, and all the groups of his studies tended to use simple present and base form with their past time activity verbs and rarely produce the progressive forms. We come to 2006, Lightbone and Spara. They mentioned that some of the errors of second language learners are remarkably similar to errors of young first language learners. For example, the use of a regular ed past tense ending on an irregular verb good and catch it and so on. And this is also, we can find it in Arab learners of English context. However, a thorough review of all morphemes acquisition studies show that the learner's L1 does have an influence, of course. In the context of Arab learners, what I found myself, Mourssi, I found that the learners use was or were plus the root plus simple past or past participle. This is why. That's because of the Arabic we use kana, and which was before the stem or other forms of the verb. Kana in Arabic equals was or were in English. That's why you can find that most of the students, they say was, went, was, eat, was, blah, 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 and so on. So why this? Because in Arabic context, they use the same. And by the way, I found this also in the Chinese context. So sometimes they add a verb related to Chinese language or to the L1 in order to be applied to L2. And this you have to know the context where you are teaching. When you teach in a context, you have to understand L1 in order to know the nature of the mistakes of L2 learners that you are teaching, the context where you are teaching. Anderson, 2008, after that, he investigated what types of errors in the Sweden, and second, compares the types of errors that he resulted from 1995 to this, the book that he wrote, Kulmer, 2003. The errors made in the past tense are categorized into 4 groups. The students use simple past, present perfect, past perfect, and past passive instead of simple past. But she found that the 80% of the errors found in the past tense and 50% related occurred with the simple past tense. In the acquisition of the simple past, and for you, I just to raise this question for all of you, if you don't mind, if you can answer me, what do you think through your experience? Of course, all of us are teachers of English, whatever our position is now. What do you think when you are teaching? Which is learned first, regular or irregular simple past forms? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, Professor. Yes, Professor.
Yeah, the question is clear. What do you think? Which one is learned first? You are in the context of students, of course. You are
regular
one. Very good. Do you have an answer? Anybody can give me another answer?
Catherine is writing, that is why her students say was, went, because they get confused with
yes.
regular and irregular. Thank you, Catherine.
No, but the question is clear here.
Yeah, the question is
yes, regular or irregular? What do you think?
Regular. Aisha is mentioning regular.
Yeah.
Also, Donnie seconds that.
Okay.
All right.
So we come to, so all of you agree that regular is first, right?
Mostly, yes.
Am I right? Anybody write irregular? Nobody. Okay. So have you heard about the U-shaped learning model in second language acquisition? Anybody heard about U-shaped learning model in second language acquisition? Type. So because this is but to be honest, this is my area. I read a lot about.
Well, in fact,
and that's why
Catherine mentioned irregular. Catherine mentioned irregular, by the way. She's right.
I've
just noticed.
Okay, we come to the fact here. this is the fact. The fact is that after investigating and going through many drafts from the students, I found that the irregular is learned first. And this was a surprise for me, as it is a surprise for you now. The irregular verbs in the simple past, in all context, even the British one, when English is L1, the irregular simple past or the irregular verbs are learned first. And we come here to Brown, 1973, and he categorizes this categorization for learning English grammar. And of course, here I concentrate on grammar. Why? Because as Vivian Cook said, without grammar, you cannot produce a correct sentence. And if there is a mistake, it can cause a disaster. And here I remember in the report of Dr. Al-Barad'i, when he wrote a report about Iraq nuclear power weapons in 1991, he said Iraqi might have nuclear weapons, and by might, he give a green light to the attack. However, it means that there is no 100% be sure that there is nuclear power because he used might. But this is one of the situations that happen when you use a wrong word. It can give a wrong results. Anyway, we come back to Brown. He said the students or learners, they use present progressive first, the plural, irregular past form, and then progressive, then copula, articles, and then regular past at the end, and then the third person S, and then the auxiliary verbs. So this is not me, by the way, but this is what I approved later on in 2014 or 2013. So here, these are the models for second language acquisition. That's why I like this field, because I feel so happiness and joyful when I go through and read the what was written and how can we add and update. We have a model by Slinker, 1969. It was interlanguage model. I updated this, by the way, related to the international context, and I focus on the Arab learners of English context and more focused to Omani context. And then I came to the words and roles model, and this one related to the regular and irregular verbs, where they gathered all verbs in English, the regular one and the irregular one, and they started to count it, and they come to the fact that what was approved before, that the irregular verbs can be or already easy to be learned more than the regular ones.
Sorry, Professor Anwar, are you presenting something on the slides, by the way?
No. I'm just giving explanation for the. Walid, I will not read from there, because I cannot add more slides. Don't worry.
Okay, so
when we come to the
YouTube slides,
we come.
All right.
Sorry.
There will be some other slides to show.
Yeah.
In few minutes.
So we come to the U-shaped learning model. I will show it to you and how I updated it, and also
we can just see your first slide, Professor Anwar. Just your first slide is showing currently.
This one is okay. Now the words and rules is okay.
For me, it hasn't changed. I don't know about anybody else.
Hasn't it changed?
Yes.
Now.
No.
What do you have now? With the words and rules?
I believe that you are presenting the other one. I mean, the wrong slide.
What about this one now?
Yes.
Yes, Professor. Now it's seen. Yeah.
Now what do you see now? You see the upgraded?
U-shaped. Yeah, U-shaped learning model.
Yeah, but before it, here we come to this one.
Before, yeah, there was no movement in the slides. Yeah, you didn't move the slides.
Now we can see this one. Now we can see this one.
Yes.
The words and rules model. Do you see this one?
Yeah, the words and rules model. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, maybe some techno. So what Pinker said, mentioned 1999, he said that the root is irregular and the rule is regular, and he has been applying this for the English as L1. And he said that words and rules operate according to different principles and are learned or used in different way. What I added for me, although the model was originally used in first language acquisition, it is also found in second language acquisition, but in a different way. So here we have this U-shaped. He said went to God and came went, but I added was, went and going, and has, have, went, and the to went until the students come to the went. So can you see the U shape now?
Yes,
Can you see
Professor.
the slide? Yes. So here I have a comment for the teachers when they saw, was, went and going, and they punish the students. This is your rule here. Your rule here, based on what I designed IWP, innovative writing process, and what I designed also communicative grammar language teaching approach, and what I designed also explicit grammar language teaching. So I designed three methods or three approaches for English language teaching, and one specifically for writing. So when the students produce the green ones, don't think that this is a mistake or this is an error. It's just a mistake, which you can correct easily by recasting. Recasting means to guide the students, not direct feedback or indirect feedback. This is old fashioned. What I added is meta linguistic feedback, which I will come to later on. When I come here to the ACTAR model, of course, I added some, but no need because it will take much time. Here are the results of, to be sure, when I told you the regular verbs and the irregular verbs, which one can be
Again.
learned faster.
Sorry, Professor.
So you can compare now.
For better visibility,
Some.
for better visibility, can you present the slides? Just click on the icon that shows at the bottom of the screen that says
Yes,
present
this is
now. Yeah, the plug.
Yeah, it is.
The plug.
This
So
one is okay.
it not
Now
the,
this is the result. The result now.
yeah, that's fine. Okay, at the bottom.
Walid, we can also enlarge it by just enlarging it on the screen. Yeah.
You
Touch
can
the
see the
screen,
result
enlarge
now
it.
or not?
Yeah. Okay.
Can you see
Yes,
the
Professor.
result?
Please go ahead.
This is the result. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So when I speak about why irregular, because some of you or most of you said regular can be learned first, but you can see now for A, B, it means that the first draft that I got from the students, that the target like for the regular was 123, but the irregular one 173. And the wrong, by the way, or the non-target like 92 plus, and the second hand and the irregular 131. So, and here in the middle, 130, 58%, but in the irregular, 62%. At the end, they have the target like form as 2.9, but in the irregular, 320. And you can imagine the difference in between. And to be sure that the regular verbs can be memorized and used more or first or before the regular ones. For the other group, also the same. The difference is very clear here, and I don't want to concentrate more on this. Here I come. This is the statistics for. You can see the target like is the blue one, and non-target like is the non-target form. Is what we say wrong form. Why I do this and how this achievements, because of implementation of IWP, which I call innovative writing process and communicative grammar language teaching approach. The most recent one is communicative approach and learning center approach and task-based approach, but I added communicative grammar language teaching approach, which gather and overcome the drawbacks of other approaches before or methods before. So, and this is for the other group, the same, with the difference, of course. And then I come to the results of how Arab learners of English acquire the simple past. Stage one, they use the root or the simple present form. Go, come, stay. They don't care about whatever you say, ed, blah, blah, blah. No, they use go, come also, and they think this is the past. Second one, some of them use the spoken target like form, like broke, went, happened, traveled, or tried, and called from his mind, by the way, but just spoken one. You got my point. You can see the slides, right?
Yes, Professor.
Yes, Professor.
Okay. Number three, or the stage number three, or to learn, because the LDA, language device acquisition in the student's mind, is moving towards the target-like form. Don't say or punish him, yeah, this is wrong, you're stupid, you're blah, blah, blah. No, you can give just meta-linguistic feedback and show or implicit, or you mix in between explicit grammar teaching, and then the students come right to do the right form. And here, what should I say? Redrafting. When you ask the students to redraft their writing, it takes time, yes, from you, and takes time from you to give the feedback. But believe me, after the third tries, you will find that students will avoid most of these mistakes. Stage number 4, use verb to be plus the simple past or past participle as, where, winted, was, came, was started, was broke, and was became, and is happening as well. So here we come to stage number 5. Number conquered errors. What does this mean in the target like form? He say they was, he were, because in Arabic, by the way, there is no difference between was and were, because we say ana كنت وهو كان. So can is used with all. That's why they make this number of conquered. They don't care about it, but they use regular form of the verb to be. Sometimes they use blended forms. What does it mean? He said they can use have, her, has plus simple past. They say has went, have helped, has arrived, and so on. Some of them use the infinitive to plus the past. To went, to cold, and to seen. And then overgeneralizing the sub rule of a regular simple past to the regular one. They say brang, because they say sing, sang, sang. They say bring, brang, brang, or steal, stole. So or feel, fall, and so on. So they overgeneralizing. So also this is one of the interlanguage stages for Arab learners of English when they learn the simple past. So here the context is rich, by the way. I took only one tense. And one of my colleagues, when I was in Higher College of Technology, we investigated the acquisition of the proposition. And really, the outcome or the findings was amazing, which guided the teachers to how to deal with the mistakes of the students. Here, what was added to the field? Here, I added a definition for revising and redrafting. What's revising? When you are teaching writing, of course. Revising, be sure that it is the process which involves monitoring and checking the students' writing in terms of not only grammar, but grammar, content, organization, sense, and words. And what about redrafting? Of course, in linguistic, we have drafting. In pedagogy, we have drafting. But I added redrafting. And by the way, redrafting for you, all of us, we say for writing, but I added it for speaking as well. When you give the chance to the students or opportunity or the space to redraft what they spoke or what they said, be sure with your recasting and your interfere and interaction with the students, he will come to the target like form, and you will save most of your time by your role as a teacher. So redrafting is the process of rewriting the written text in its final form. And also I added another one, it was related to speaking. After peers and teachers interaction. And here I concentrate on peers. What is Zainab said, and what is Dr. Walid said, and what is Ali said, and what Barifias. I think all of you share my ideas that the students can learn easily from their peers and also can learn from the teacher, but the most important point is the interaction, because without a practice, learning process will not be launched at all. What I added also, implicit. We have implicit and explicit, as all of you know, deductive and deductive, but why don't I gather between both? So I start with implicit, and I have some less able students, as Dr. Walid said, that we have to respect the individual differences. And what I care of, by the way, in my context, I concentrate really more on the less able students, because your success related to how to improve the less able students to achieve the target like forms in producing English language skills, whatever it is, reading or writing or listening or speaking. Then I come to negotiation. You have to open the negotiation, and this is, by the way, the gate of critical thinking. And for USP, our different as our supervisor